Today on Fortnite, I got second place. I was so close.
Mom, will you get me a snack?
Mom! It's time for adult conversation. With me, your host, Brandy Ferner. Hello, Adult Conversation podcast listeners. In today's episode, I am talking to the wonderful Graeme Seabrook, who's a writer, mom coach, and past podcast guest. I wanted her take on what I call the Great Reckoning that's coming for us parents, namely moms, after the pandemic, and what that might look like. Graeme and I talk about what moms have lost most during the pandemic, unexpected side effects of returning to some normalcy, and what she sees coming up for moms after this wild year of emotional and logistical scrambling. We also talk about the summer ahead, what support moms need most, how to get it, and personal examples of gender equality in parenting, along with a relatable story I share about my teen and the violence that is wearing a belt, apparently. On to the show. Today on the podcast, I'm welcoming back Graeme Seabrook, who is many things, but namely, she's a writer, speaker, and community creator for moms, as well as a mom coach and founder of the Mom Center, an online community. Last time she was on the podcast, she was so much fun and was also dropping truth bombs everywhere, so I was eager to get her back on here to discuss the toll the pandemic is taking on us mothers and what she's seeing in her clients, and sort of how we get back to life and how we like the great reckoning that will come. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome back, Graeme.
Thank you so much for having me. And that's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot. Yeah.
There's a great reckoning coming, which I want to, of course, talk to you about. And last time we talked on the podcast, it was in the before times.
Yes.
So much has changed. And we thought we had it hard then.
Right?
Right? And I really want to get into what you're seeing in your mom community and clients, and then how you've personally experienced parenting during the pandemic. But before we go there, just like what I asked you last time, what is something the listeners need to know about you?
The thing that you absolutely need to know about me right now,
aside from the fact that you love pink Starburst.
Oh, come on. That's literally, I was going to say, I have a 3-pound bag of pink Starburst sitting next to me.
Wait, did I just take it? Were you going to say that?
That is literally what I was going to say. There's a 3-pound bag because I have freaking amazing mom friends. They are amazing. There's no other word. Fabulous. Fantabulous. Is that a word? I'm making it a word. Like, they are just ridiculously cool. And my birthday was a couple weeks ago, and I got this massive bag that is just pink Starburst.
Oh, I think of you every time I see the yogurt at the store, because I didn't even know it was a thing.
Dude, it's the best thing. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And I also adore it.
Yes, it's literally the best.
I pretty much am who I am. Like, it's always been pink Starburst. It's always going to be pink Starburst.
Loyal. You are loyal.
I really am. The only thing that I love, like, to that level, that's not like family, is probably Star Trek Discovery. This is like the level of dorkiness is like me sitting at home rewatching all 3 seasons of Disco with a massive thing of pink Starburst in front of me. It is, I gotta tell you, wild times.
Yeah, that sounds like a wild night.
It is.
But I mean, those are the things that are keeping us sane right now, is like our little comforts. My daughter keeps watching the same show over and over. It's 2 of them. It's Liv and Maddie and Hey Jesse. Hey Jesse. Like, you can't say that without singing the song. So she's just over and over again. And at some point I was like, don't you want to watch something new?
No, I do not.
No.
Not at all interested.
And then I was seeing memes go by where therapists were saying people are clinging to what they know, a show that they know that's comforting. And so I was like, so now I'm just like fully supporting it.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to make you feel. You even know the parts you're not going to like.
Yes.
Right? Like
Yes.
you know all of it. There's no question. There's no wonder about like, am I wasting my time with this? Is this going to make me more angry, more upset, more sad, more whatever? You know the experience, the emotional experience you're going to have. And then also you find like tiny little new things.
Yeah. Yes. So, as I see things starting to return to some semblance of normal-ish, I wanted to talk to you about how us moms do that. Like, even the heaviness of processing that, what we've lost, where the rough patches have been, and some of the parts of our lives and our kids' lives that are forever changed. So, like I said in the beginning, I'm imagining this reckoning. Like, I imagine that when kids go back to school in the fall, parents will have this emotional reckoning where we realize all we've been holding on to, along with being around our kids 24/7. I feel like we've all been in survival mode, and finally having some physical distance and even knowing someone else is handling our kids' learning for the day will allow our nervous systems to chill the fuck out for a minute, and then we will all begin to cry.
It will explode.
Yeah.
It will explode.
Yeah. So talk to me about what you foresee happening.
Well, there's options.
Okay. Which sense of reckoning? Which flavor of reckoning?
There's things that I hope will happen, which is that as we move through these like stages of grief and whatever those happen to be for each like particular person, that there comes a point where each mom, each parent will be like, wait, that was bullshit. That was unnecessary. It never had to hurt that much. And that anger will lead them to action. That's what I hope will happen.
Oh, man. But then
knowing our country, I know our country, what I think is going to happen is just a lot of self-numbing, not even self-care or self-comfort, but a lot of numbing, a lot more drinking, a lot more drug use, a lot of buying things, whether you need them or not, just a lot of like spending, a lot of travel, a lot of I'm going to do and have everything that was taken from me.
Oh, right.
And give my children all of the things that were taken from them without a reckoning around why and what are the systems that underlay all of that? Why was it like this? And who has been left behind, completely unable to do those things, completely unable to say, I'm going to now have all the experiences that I didn't get to have last year.
Right.
So, yeah. What I want to have happen or what's going to happen. But I was the one, everybody was saying at the beginning of all this, there's going to be so many babies. And I was like, there's going to be so many divorces.
Yeah.
Those two things are not mutually exclusive.
True.
But I was like, no, moms are smarter than that.
Yeah. I don't feel like, aside from people who have one, like I think people who had onlys and were on the fence, I could see some of them, because I know some of them have talked about how hard it is to have an only and how much they wish they had a sibling. So I can see where there'd be maybe a baby boom there. And
there were plenty of people who were like already trying to get pregnant before this. There were couples doing IVF, and there were people who were newly married. There were people who were like, who had just finally decided, okay, this is our time. Right.
Yeah.
And so I know that for a lot of folks who were already thinking about it, we're both stuck in the house, might as well make this baby, kind of made sense.
Yeah,
and so
totally.
I understand, I have seen a ton of babies. Well, there's always a ton of babies coming across my timeline because, moms.
Right.
But I'm seeing a lot more endings than beginnings.
Same. And I'm wondering too, a lot of people obviously in this moment are in that survival mode place. And so that's what I'm wondering is when we have the chance to breathe and have our own thoughts for a moment, like when kids are at school all day and you're like, like, how do I feel about this? If there will be even more afterwards when people are like picking up the broken pieces and are like, okay, no.
Yeah, no, we're talking about like 2022, 2023. That's where I think, and I don't think it's just going to be relationships. I think it's going to be people leaving jobs.
Yep.
I'm seeing a lot right now of parents who are being called back to work, like parents who were at home who are being called back to work. And they're like, wait, it's April, it's May. What is wrong with you? You couldn't wait one more month until school's done? My kid's not back at school. Or you would know that if you stopped to think or to, ask. And it's not even the kind of thing where, oh, okay, we're opening the office back up and anyone who wants to can come and work in the office.
Right. It's like I have to.
It's we're opening, the office is opening on Monday and everyone needs to report to their and what? In what world and how? How is that supposed to work?
Totally.
I have to admit, so there's this book that I've been obsessed with for a minute now. I actually have like 4 different copies of it. It's called Hood Feminism by Mickey Kendall. And first of all, I think every person in the world needs to read this book. And second of all, I lose it a lot, hence my 4 copies. But it's a series of essays, really. And there's one where she talks about the necessity of universal childcare.
Yeah. Yes.
And the first time I read it, and honestly, the first oh, Mickey, don't hate me. The first 4 or 5 times, I was like, yeah, I mean, we need universal healthcare more though. Like we need others, in my head, there were other things. And that was bullshit. And that was 100% because of my situation, being married to a person who is fully committed to parenting with me, having the money to pay for childcare, and there were times that we had to give up other things.
For sure. Right.
There were, repairs that didn't happen on our house or our cars. And it got tricky sometimes, but we were able to pay more than our mortgage for childcare. Now it is also absolute crap that childcare costs more than a mortgage, but we could swing it, right? We could do it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't it wasn't like a fire inside me the way it is now until really this pandemic, until really I was like, wait a minute. If we had universal childcare, if we knew that these were people who were absolutely, utterly essential to the workings of our economy, and if we treated them that way,
yes,
meaning that we paid them that way,
a living wage,
trained them that way,
yep.
And meaning that when we had a vaccine, that they were prioritized. Not that the whole thing could have been avoided, obviously not, but the pain, so much of the pain, and the millions of women that had to leave the job market.
Exactly.
And they had to. I hate it when people frame this as a choice. What choice?
Right. And especially if the pay gap is what it is, every household looks at, okay, which one is more beneficial to keep? And guess what? 9 times out of 10, it's the man's job.
Thank you.
So then it's like then it's people are put in a position where it's like, well, I guess it makes more sense financially for her to stay home. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's not actually a choice.
That's not a choice then. Yeah. That is surviving within a system. But that is not a choice.
I think it's important too that you were talking about when this all goes down and when things, when kids are, fingers crossed, back at school and all of those things, the stages of grief that you're talking about that people will be going through, I think, and that it's going to be helpful to name those things and to talk about it in that way so that we aren't just buying things, overdoing. That was something I hadn't thought about that you brought up that was a great point, is about people overdoing things because of what's been taken from them, what's been taken from their kids. And then that doesn't necessarily feel good because that's a sort of a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
and it's not naming what's really going on, which is grief.
And it's not healing anything. I mean, it might... and I can't say that I won't be doing it as well. Really.
Same. Right.
Right. But I think there's a little bit of an awareness that you need to cultivate about what am I actually feeling right now? is this really called? And what's under the emotion iceberg? I've done 1,000,000 hours of therapy, and my son has also, he started on his 1,000,000 hours of therapy. He has anxiety and ADHD, and one of the things that his therapist has been working on with him for a while now is naming his emotions. It's being able to say what it is that he's feeling and where in his body he's feeling it, because he also like manifests it really a lot in his body, and having it be okay if it is a little bit of this and also a little bit of that. I'm a little bit sad, but I'm a little bit angry, but I'm a little bit frustrated, but I'm a little bit scared.
Yeah, right.
Instead of having to have it like be a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And also have it be okay that we don't know how to fix it. All of those lessons, those are resiliency lessons. That's really what that is acceptance and resiliency. And all of those lessons are going to be really important for us as well. Because I don't think it's just going to be the stay-at-home parents. I think there's going to be a lot of folks sitting in offices with deep wells of anger, not knowing where they came from. Or you get up to go to the bathroom and you find yourself like sobbing in a bathroom stall for no reason.
Yes.
Or, like I think there's going to be a lot of things that pop up seemingly months later where you're like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? Why am I so angry today when there's nothing going on, when there's no threat, when there's no,
Right. And like almost like was this a dream? Did this happen? Sort of a thing. And, I don't know if we're there, and I don't know if the numbers will stay good enough that, we do kind of go back to this normal life. But I can just, I can just imagine, because even the other day I went to the first outside restaurant, that dining experience that we'd had in like a year. And it was just this thing where I'm like, this last year happened, right? Like it's like, it feels almost surreal. And so I feel like some of those feelings will come up too, especially if, which our culture is really good at, is like just brushing everything under the rug and like, now everything's great. And look at this new product. And,
yes,
I'm hoping, I'm thinking, like, how do we have communal therapy for a country? I mean, really for a world, not just our country, but for a world. And then I'm like laughing because I'm like, that's not going to happen.
No.
But, maybe there will be pockets, maybe there will be nonprofits that come out, maybe there will be things that, that can provide something like this. But I'm curious personally, what do you think moms have lost most during this pandemic time?
I think it really depends on the mom, on like where they were before this.
Yeah.
Because we're all so different. But the one thing that I do see that is pretty much across the board is, I guess innocence is the only way that I can explain it. There was a belief before this that there was something that we could do, that we could change, that if we were just better, if I was more organized, if I was better at self-care, if I got the right ADHD meds, if I could just figure out a bedtime routine, if I, there was always some if I could do X, Y, or Z, that things would fall into place and all of this would make sense. This whole motherhood thing, this whole life thing, this whole how to raise a human being thing. And no, no, because when everything fell apart, it was on a systemic level. It was on a global level. Me being better at organization does not touch that, doesn't come near to touching that, is not a way that I can keep my family safe from that. Yeah. So that's innocence is the only way that is the only word that I can come up with. There's probably a better one, but that's the only word that I can come up with. Like that we've lost those rose-colored glasses, that we had control, that we could keep them safe, that it was within our control. There was something that we could do.
Right.
And on an individual level. And I think the thing that we've gained is this knowledge that it has to be community-based. It has to be. We will not make it through this without each other.
Yeah.
We absolutely will not. And not just other moms, but other people in our communities.
Well, exactly, because I'm thinking about some moms who maybe have a setup at home that it was hard, but it was doable.
Mm-hmm.
And then those moms are thinking, well, it's doable, whereas there's other moms for whom it hasn't been, or families for whom it hasn't been.
Yeah.
And so it's that idea of like, well, it wasn't a problem for me, so it's not a problem.
Right.
Which is hopefully one of the things, like you're saying, that we have gained, is that we've really heard about and are listening to the communities that have struggled, who need our help. Like, we all need each other's help, but then there's also people who are underserved who actually need more help, and that's okay for us to give that to them.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that is something, I mean, I've seen an explosion in mutual aid. Most of it has been online because that's, where I pay attention.
Right.
And there's like this joke that it's the same $25 that just keeps going around in a circle. And that's true. It is, but that's how that's how underserved communities have always gotten by. That same $25 that just keeps getting passed around. I think people are starting to realize, like with this experience with the vaccine, that like, okay, you just walk into a vaccination center or a Walgreens or a CVS or whatever, and you get the vaccine.
Yeah.
You don't pay for it. You don't have to figure out, like, you just get the vaccine. And so people are starting to see what universal healthcare could look like. Hey, there's this thing that you need to be healthy. You just go and get the thing that you need to be healthy, because we are all safer when everybody is healthy. Our health as a nation is important. Our health as a world is important. All of the fights about opening schools and stuff really opened people's eyes to the fact that, like, parents cannot work without some type of childcare. Should schools be childcare? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But it made it glaringly obvious that it is not possible and it is not safe. So, yeah, and there's been a ton of wake-up calls. And I think especially for like Gen X, so many of us were latchkey kids. I was.
Yep.
And just the absolute refusal to do that to our own children. Like, we just won't. We will figure some shit out, even if we have to bend all kinds of rules and make all kinds of, we're going to figure it out. We're not going to, no, we're not doing that, because we know the dumb shit we did. We know all of the times that we very nearly died.
Right. And the unsafe situations that we were sometimes put in that our parents had no idea, because
they had no clue.
They had no idea.
They had no clue. My mom literally came home from work one day and there was an ambulance in our driveway.
Oh my gosh.
They had there were no cell phones. There was no, I was fine. I mean, I'm here. I'm talking to you now, but I still have the scar. And
oh my
I'm
God. Okay.
leaving.
What happened? Real quick. What happened?
This is
and how old were you?
This is such a me story. Oh, I was second grade. Second grade is 8. Wait, my kid's in second grade. 7. I was 7
Same.
or 8.
Okay.
I was like, duh, how do I not know that? I was sick. I had stayed home because I had a fever and a cough. It was not like chicken pox or something, where she needed to be home. And I know my dad was out of town for work. Like, that part I remember. And my mom had to go to work. Like, that was it. She had to go to work. And so she had made like soup, and there was, she had left all of this stuff out and prepared for me. And I decided that I wanted a steak.
You have got to be kidding me.
I'm so serious. I decided I wanted a steak. At the time, like, one of my cousins had been going to Johnson and Wales, the culinary university. It's like a cooking, it's a school for chefs. It's like a college for chefs. And she had just moved out. Like, she had just moved out on her own. But I had seen her cooking all of these really amazing, cool chef things. And if she could do it, I mean, granted, she was like literally in college.
Like, she's an adult.
I was in second grade. But whatever, in my head, if she could do it, then I could do it. So I tried to broil a steak. And actually, the steak came out really good. The problem... I need you to know that the steak tasted really good.
Okay.
Like that's an important part of the story. The problem was when I went to pull the pan out from under the broiler.
Ooh.
And I even had like the gloves and stuff on, but I bobbled it.
Oh.
So now I have a stripe on my arm. I have this like stripe on my arm. I called 911 because I had a question. And I did not realize that that's not what they did.
Was your question about cooking the steak or your arm? Were you
It
like,
was about the arm.
Is medium well when it's a bit pink?
No. I was like, so I have a burn on my arm and I don't know if I should put, and I was like, I have ice in a paper towel and I'm holding it on the burn and like in a wet paper towel and I'm holding it on the burn. And I don't know if I should put Neosporin on or not because I had the first aid kit because we had a first aid kit. What I did not have was a smartphone or Google or any way to know, right? So the woman on the line is like, how old are you?
Yeah.
And
where is your parent?
Right? And I told her, she didn't even ask if my parents were there. Because this was not the first time that something like this had happened, you know?
Right.
Like it is what it is. So I just need to know. I was like, I'm okay. It's, it kind of hurts, but it's all right. I don't need anybody to come out. I just need an answer. And she was like,
and they're like, we're going to send an ambulance right now.
She didn't say any of it. She kept me on the phone. She kept me talking. She had me run my arm. Why am I trying to show my computer this? But whatever. She had me run my arm under the water. And the next thing I knew, they were knocking on the door.
Oh my gosh. And was your mom, after that, you weren't sick? If you can cook a steak.
Oh, she was so, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though I still had a fever. Like I had a fever because I remember the EMT being like, you feel really warm. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sick. That's why I'm home.
Oh my God. Who are you? That is amazing. You're like, but I need steak. I love how refined you were.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You know what I was seeing on some of the Facebook pages that was going around during the pandemic, and I still see it, is some people saying things like, oh, parents just are sick of taking care of their kids and just want kids to go back to school so that they don't have to take care of them. And I'm and I don't get involved because I've learned to not get in online fights really. Yes. But also those people can go fuck themselves.
They really can.
Because most of us are riddled with anxiety and guilt and uncomfortability about what our kids have had to give up. And it's not about I just want a babysitter. It's I'm hoping my kid isn't suicidal. You know what I mean? It's this
literally.
Is not normal.
No, I'm not kidding. My son
I know.
has massive anxiety and I was terrified and ADHD. And I was terrified that online learning was going to be horrible for him. I was terrified. Turns out it ended up being really great because I can be in the room with him and prompt him on stuff and be like, dude, window. Window means stop looking out the window and look back at the teacher.
Okay.
Dude, toys. So I can sit on his bed with my laptop and do my work. And every once in a while I look up and I'm like, no, not so much with that. Yeah. And I can also see he's starting to get hungry. That's why he's not paying attention. Oh, right. He's starting to get bored. Right. So I feel like it's brought me much deeper into what his school experience is and what he needs. And I'm better able to advocate for him. And plus also, I am terrified of what's going to happen when he goes back to school.
Yeah.
He's not used to this anymore. And he's so young. But going back to the assholes. So here's the thing. Yeah, I literally am sick of being with my kids 24/7. Yes, I am. And I'm allowed to feel like that. I am a human being. And that has absolutely nothing to do with me also saying my children need socialization. My children need their peers. I can't teach my kid art. I can't teach my kid the STEM coding stuff. I can't teach my kid to read. I can't do that. I am not a teacher. And there are really valid reasons for that. Amazingly good reasons for that. I suck at it.
Totally. And for teens too, I mean, even, some elementary school aged kids, but even for teens, if I tell my son to shower, he's not going to do it. But if someone at school is like, dude, you stink, you need to shower, he will do it. So, like, there are also certain social and emotional things that happen at school that, like, if you have your parent constantly telling you these things, it doesn't, it's just like, oh, my mom's on my case or whatever.
Right.
But, like, we got to get them at school to have the appropriate shaming from their peers.
Literally, but it's real.
It is real.
Yes.
I just fought my son about taking a shower this morning that I was like, I don't understand why you hate showers. Does glass come out of the shower head? Like, I don't understand. I just got a text from one of my friends, I'm not even kidding, that says, why does my whole life smell like sweaty boy? Yes.
That is what...
And it's so
the text I just got. Yeah, she's got a teenager too. Yes.
And a shower is like a pleasantry. It's like such a nice thing. And then the other thing that feels like a hurdle that we just jumped over is he consented to wearing a belt, which seems like, why does somebody consent? Like, why was there resistance in the first place? But like, So, okay, I just have to share this because other parents of teens will understand. But like, so we went shopping for clothes and only shorts because he won't wear pants. And I've given up pants. We live in Southern California, just given it up. So anyway, he tries on these shorts, which by the way, he calls pants, but every time I'm like, they're shorts. Remember, you won't wear pants. Anyway, so he goes to put some shorts on because he's going to go back to school and they're all too big. And I'm like, didn't you try these things on? So anyway, we have this big thing. He ends up wearing old shorts. So then he says, why don't these have the like elastic things in the inside? I'm like, because people wearing your size are adults and they wear belts because belts have been they've stood the test of time and they actually really haven't even been updated because they work so well. Okay, but this is the best part of this story. He watched some cartoon somewhere. He made an agreement that a belt means a giant gold Western belt buckle. And so he's like, okay, Mom, fine. I guess I'll wear a belt, but I don't want it to be that big. Like, I don't want the big buckle to be that big. And I'm like, dude,
what world are you? Yeah. You have the internet. Like,
I know. I'm like,
belt.
Who hurt you? What? And I'm like, is this a Yosemite Sam? Like, what did he see?
Happening?
What happened? So then we get to the store and we're at this like cool skater surfer place and we go up to the belt rack and they're just chill, right? They're just like belt. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so relieved. So anyway, he consented to a belt and I'm like, this is why this is so exhausting.
Why are children?
Why? Because there should be no resistance. Like something that has stood the test of time. It's like oxygen. Like, son, you should try to breathe oxygen. Like, it just is.
Have you considered oxygen?
Oh my God. And I'm just, I'm like exhausted by it. And I will say, added to that, I still think parenting toddlers is harder. Anyway, I may change my mind on that someday, but even as I like pull my hair out, I'm like, but he's not all over me and he's not like spilling water every 2 seconds and I have like space.
I think it really depends on like your personality, like on your style, like your personality style. Like if you are a tactile person and and that's how you communicate, then the toddler phase is not as bad for you. And the teen phase is going to make you literally pull your hair out because you're going to be like, why won't you let me touch you? What is wrong?
Right.
Yeah. Where if you're more like me, where you're like, why are there people near me?
Yes, same.
I am the horrible mom who, like, when my son stomps up the stairs and slams his door and I am going to my room. I'm like, cool.
You're like, thank you.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, this is not a punishment for me.
I'm really okay. And then I'm like, oh, okay, set the timer, 5 minutes. You got to go up there. You have to be a good parent, Graeme. God. But yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings. My mom, on the other hand, if I had done that to her at 6 or 7, she would have been a puddle of tears on the floor.
Oh no.
Like that would have destroyed her.
No.
But me, I'm just like, cool. That gives me a break. I can calm down. I'm going to get some water. I'm going to, breathe and play this solitaire game on my phone, get some points. And then I will go up and we will have a conversation about feelings.
Exactly. And that's like with a teen, it's like, now that he's in school a couple days a week, like I dropped him off and it wasn't like, well, now all day I have to also fight you for a nap and also fight you to eat lunch, which, I'm sure. Yeah. But I do have to fight for like braces, hygiene. I mean, it's like all of the teen things and kids wearing masks, even at school. It means that you can have nasty breath and not really brush your teeth and nobody knows.
How do they not smell it themselves?
I don't know.
Please explain how.
I don't know. But so masks are great. And then also there's this whole thing that's happening where mouths are disgusting because they can be covered. So yeah. Anyway, back on topic. How did we moms not go on strike? Like and
it's not possible.
And I was going to say, I have an answer for this, but I want to know your answer.
It's not possible. It is not actually possible. Well, it's illegal to stop caring for your child.
True. There's that.
And the vast majority of us, I mean, obviously there are horrible parents everywhere, but the vast majority of us don't want to stop caring for our children, right? That's not what we want. We just need support. And so there is no safety net. I look at some other countries where they have mass strikes all the time. And what you see is either there is a social safety net where people are still going to be able to eat. People are not going to lose their homes. Or conditions are so dire that you're going to lose your home whether you are in the streets or not.
Yeah,
and those are generally the two conditions under which people will take to the streets, right? It has to be so bad that going or not going isn't going to change anything. You're going to die either way. You might as well die screaming, right? Or that you can go out and make your voice heard and your children are not going to die. And we are in this weird middle place where it is excruciatingly painful. And you are always one false step away from disaster. And so you can't ever take your eye off of that ball long enough to focus on the reasons that it's excruciatingly painful and who is keeping everything so unstable that all of your steps seem false.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, that's a really hard one to parse, but that's why there hasn't been a general strike about anything. I mean, the closest that we've gotten are last summer with the Black Lives Matter protests. And that really was a moment of, I'm going to die either way. And then so many other people saying, wait, holy shit, what do you mean you're going to die either way? Oh no, I'm coming too. Right. Like that was, but it started with I'm going to die either way. I'm not going to die quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't gotten that bad for enough moms. It's this weird middle horrible place.
And I think too, because I mean, I do feel like it has gotten pretty horrible for people, but at the end of the day, we are wired to protect our kids. And we know that if we left or were like, I'm not doing this anymore, the ones who would pay for it would be our children.
Yes.
So like when we aren't going to do that to them, because it's really not fair to them that you have the system that doesn't help, but then your mom also leaves. So you're just like, and so then we were in care of the patriarchy, like completely, like that's not good.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that's just really, really hard. I don't think that for this, I don't think something like strikes and protests are going to get it done. I think that it's going to be a combination of individual choices in our households. And I'm talking about like little tiny things, like who does the dishes and who calls the pediatrician and who takes time off of work when the kid is sick and who, all those little things.
Yes.
Combined with voting patterns and loudly pushing our representatives we still don't have paid maternal leave.
I know.
We need paid parental leave. We need leave for any type of parent. We need leave for fathers. We need leave for mothers. We need leave for non-binary parents. We need parental leave. If you have a child that is coming into your household in any way, whether that's through adoption or through birth or through I don't care. If you have a child coming into your household in some way, you need time to handle that.
Yes.
You also need to know that if that child is sick or if that child has a problem or if that child needs you, that you're not going to have to make a decision between keeping a roof over their head, keeping food in their belly, and tending to their health.
Absolutely.
So it's going to have to be like these little changes and also the big changes at the same time. And you're talking about that to a group of people who are stressed to the point where I think so many of us can't even feel it anymore. It feels regular and normal.
Yes. I was thinking that same thing this morning. I was thinking when these kids are back to school full time and there's some normalcy, like I think I'm going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that it felt normal to me to be around them 24/7.
People are going to break.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think people, and I guess moms mostly, are going to need support-wise as they come out of this pandemic? I know we talked about it a little bit.
Honestly, I'm a little worried about the summer. I'm not a little worried. I'm pretty massively worried about the summer. Before we even get to the fall, we have to get through the summer.
Totally. At least, but don't you feel like, I know for me, the summer feels like at least I'm not having to do distance learning. So it's like this weird, like tricky thing where I feel like, oh, that's one less thing I'll have to do. But of course, then there'll still be the meals and the snacks and the laundry and the entertaining and all of that and like screen management.
There's no structure over the summer at all.
Yeah.
So personally,
damn it, you're right.
We got really lucky. Our school district is amazing and they have not let us down. They are running a series of camps for elementary school aged kids at whatever your home elementary school is.
Okay.
And it's specifically geared towards helping them reintegrate with the community and be ready for school to start.
Oh, that's amazing.
So,
that's like thoughtful. That's strangely thoughtful.
Right? Yeah. They are affordable. It's full day and it's at the school. We're stupendously lucky. But there are single moms who were taking their kids to school because they didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Who now are looking at 3 months of what the fuck do I do?
Exactly. Right.
There are so many moms who that distance learning time was the only time they got any work done.
Yes.
And now their jobs want them to come back to work, or their jobs are like, yeah, but it's summer. You should be fine now. They're not in school because they don't understand. Well, okay, now that means that I somehow have to keep an 8-year-old entertained all day. I have to provide some type of structure for this child.
Exactly. And fed
during the day. And now it's literally all on me. There is you're taking a group of people, like we just said, who are massively stressed. And now you're taking away the tiny bit of structure that they had. And it's all on them. I said it on Instagram the other day. I was like, is it going to be a summer break or a summer breakdown? Because I don't know how the hell they're supposed to do this. And so then by the time we get into school next year, there's going to be a lot of anxiety around the beginning of the school year.
Yeah, I agree.
There's going to be a lot of separation anxiety.
Exactly.
On all parts. Like we assume that it's going to be the kids, but we're also used to knowing where they are 24/7 and used to knowing that they're safe and being able to put hands on them. And now we're sending them out into extremely unsafe conditions because the school shooting numbers are,
I know. I was thinking the same thing about, as much as, I'd rather not be around my kids 24/7 and let them have, their own lives at school. There is something about knowing that they're here and, like you said, I've got hands on them and whatever. And I'm thinking about, not having that. And there's part of me that's like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to be able to like be still inside. And that's going to be amazing. And also there are some things about this that have felt very connected, mainly too connected, but there's some real like doing some of the school stuff with my daughter, like math, especially. We do math together every single day. But I'm conscious of trying to like wean her off of some of that. And I'm going back and forth on Like, do I just keep doing this with her for the last month because she's lucky to have one-on-one help with it, because she's just like excelling? But it's because I know how her brain works, and so I know what to kind of like show her and do her, and it's only second grade, so I'm like, I still get it. But I'm wondering, is that like a disservice to her because she's going to have to go back and do all this stuff herself without mommy next to her? So it's just there's just a lot mentally going on about what to give them and not.
Yes. I mean, and there aren't any answers because we've never really done this before.
Exactly.
I mean, yes, we have had, like, there was, the flu in 1918, but like, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
We haven't done this. And the world has changed so much that that's not super helpful. We're also seeing a lot of people who they thought, or what I'm seeing especially like in the mom center, are a lot of moms who thought, okay, he's going to be home now. I'm home. He's going to see it.
Oh, right. Yeah. That didn't happen.
That like invisible labor stuff is going to now be visible because he's right there. Like, how could he not see it? Like, how could that didn't happen.
But when he's in a room working all day, how does he see it? Right.
I mean, we all saw, well, I'm assuming most people saw that article in the New York Times where they followed like the 4 different moms.
Oh, yes.
Around. And then that one picture went viral.
The mom in the bathroom, wiping the kid on a call.
Yes. And he is in, and he's
in an office, not on a call. Yep.
It wasn't the picture that made me, I mean, my whole body got hot. Like I could feel it. It wasn't the picture. It was when they talked about how he would come out of his office and make popcorn and lay on the couch.
Oh, God.
That I wanted to punch him in his face. I had like violent urges for this dude that I have never met before in my life and I don't know anything about. And,
and maybe he's a lovely man.
He might be. Okay, I'm not going to say anything else. I still kind of want to punch that dude in the face. But I know that he's not at all special. I know that there's so many. And the thing that I haven't seen, so there, ever since that article and like that went viral, there's been a million more of them, right? Because I mean, that's kind of how like publishing and all of that stuff works, right? Oh, well, that's what everybody wants to talk about. So that's what we're going to talk about. Right. But they're just doing these slice of life things, or they're talking about the numbers of moms that have left the workforce, or they're talking about how more dads have returned to the workforce than moms, or they're doing all these numbers things and they're like, this is terrible. And like, that's it.
Right. And it's like, if only there was something we could do about it. Okay,
but what I want the articles that are diving into like, well, what can we do? What are the changes that we can make in our households and on a systemic level and in our communities? Like, where are because you know that there have been throughout this, there have been communities that have fallen apart, and then there have been communities that have come together.
Yes.
I want to hear about the ones that have come together. I want to hear about the relationships that have changed. I want to hear about the businesses that have decided, like, okay, Adam works for a company called Blackbaud. They make software for nonprofits. Right before we moved from South Carolina to Colorado, like literally the 2 days after he got approval to work from home, once we moved, they announced company-wide, no more working from home, no more remote working.
No way.
That was like 2016, 2017. Yeah. Well, they obviously everybody had to go remote during the pandemic. And about halfway through, they said, yeah, we were wrong.
Oh, good for them.
This is working great. We haven't really had any problems. And in fact, they came back and said, all right, yeah, anybody who wants to work remote can just work remote. Like this, we're going to stay out of it on a company level. That's like literally up to you and your manager and your team and whatever projects you're working on. Right. And they went even farther than that. And they gave managers prerogative for when people would have to use PTO and when they wouldn't. He hasn't worked on a Friday in over a year.
Wow.
And he works like an hour and a half extra Monday through Thursday. But it doesn't make up for the full 8 hours. It's just his boss was like, look, as long as everything's getting done.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's the only way I've been able to keep doing my work. It's the only reason that I still have a business. It's the only reason I've been able to, teach classes and grow the Mom Center and do all of this stuff is because Fridays, I knew I could work on Fridays.
Right.
Even if it was the only day of the week that where anything got done, I knew I had that time.
What a humane setup. And, I think what you're talking about too, and what you were saying earlier, it goes back to these like mini revolutions that are happening at home and how important those are, because we really, like we've talked about, is if we go on some massive strike, that can't happen for numerous reasons, one of which being like our kids get the short end of that stick, and we are wired as mothers to not give them that sort of like to not traumatize them in knowingful ways, right? We will traumatize them in ways that we don't,
we'll oops into trauma all the time, but we don't, we don't do it on purpose, right?
Right, but we're not going to do that. But so that's why the only thing it feels like in some ways, aside from like what you're talking about, which is, voting and changing things on a bigger level, is your own ecosystem is the place to do the most good. And also because you have eyeballs of children who are watching, what does this look like? And so that's why it's so important. So I talk about this, with moms all the time about how us taking what we need, and I don't mean, and I feel silly to even say this, and I'm not talking about like lavish vacations away alone and, that are like a month long, like I'm just going to go do this thing. Although if you wanted to do that, that's fine too.
Take me with you.
Yeah. So I'm not saying no to that. But, I feel like when people hear that, like I'm going to take what I need, it's like, oh, she's going to overtake. We are wired and conditioned. We're not wired. We are conditioned to undertake as women. So when I say take, it's still not enough. So those are the things that's important.
Oh, I said that to Adam like flat out. I was like, look, we are going to know that we have hit some type of an equilibrium when I constantly feel guilty and you constantly feel like you're doing too much. Because you have been conditioned to do nothing and I have been conditioned to do everything. It's never going to feel right. Maybe 10, 15 years, right? It's not going to feel, and I do still constantly feel guilty. Like I'm not doing enough 24/7. And he still does not feel like he's doing too much. So I maybe should, take more naps.
That sounds great. In fact, after this, I'm like, and then I'm like, oh shit, but then we have gymnastics. Like
legit taking a nap. Legit taking a nap.
But yeah, I think that this is when the question everybody always has is, well, what do we do about this? And it's like, oh, that's a big question to answer. And also I think most impactful for each of us, but then on a collective level too, is at home. And that's why, like, Beth Berry, who I don't know if you're familiar with her stuff, but the name of hers is, Revolution from Home. Like, I have always been drawn to that title because that's sometimes what these things feel like. And I don't think as moms, we don't totally understand, like I was saying before, that when we stick up for ourselves, when we set a boundary, when we take what we need, that is like a revolution that's happening. It's a big deal. It's not just like mom's getting her yoga time. It's like, no, this is a bigger deal than just, I'm filling my need for this moment. This is like rewriting, trying to correct course.
My 5-year-old daughter does not want to marry a girl because if you marry a girl, you have to do the laundry. I pointed out to her that she is also a girl. And she's like, no, mommy, if you marry a girl, then you has to wash all the clothes and I don't want to. So I marry a boy and then he wash all the clothes.
Oh my
gosh, I was
like,
funny. Cool, you do you, kid. But that's because in our house, I don't do laundry. So she thinks that moms don't do laundry. Like, she's like, girls don't do laundry. And because our 7-year-old is now getting tall enough that he can like reach the top of our washer as a top loader.
Yeah.
So he's now tall enough that like he can actually help with laundry, right? And so Adam has been taking him down, like our stuff is in the basement. And so like they have been doing laundry together. So now she's 100% convinced
Oh my gosh.
that this is a dude thing. And when she gets taller, like it'll probably be next year because she's growing like a weed. So when he says to her like, hey, come help me with the laundry, she's in for a rude awakening.
She's like, but wait, I don't do this. This wasn't
like,
in my...
But I a girl. No. And on the flip side of that, our son thinks it's totally normal for him to be doing laundry. It's these tiny little things. It's these tiny little things of who does the dishes, who does the laundry. I posted a thing yesterday. Adam had gotten an email from where our 5-year-old is going to school. They needed a health form. So he got the email that said, hey, they need the health form. And so he called the pediatrician and got the health form, and he attached it to the email and he sent it back, and he copied me on it when he sent it back. And I was like, cool. And then I like rolled over and went back to sleep. And then I sat up and I was like, wait, people should see this. So I like covered up her name and, identifying stuff. And I posted it to Twitter and I was like, so, hey, dudes, this is what parenting looks like. Like he worked all day and he made dinner. And then, after the kids were in bed and after the end of the day, because you could see this timestamp on it. It was at like 8:00 at night. Then he sat down and he sent this email to the school because he's a parent.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not something that only moms can do. It's not like my uterus doesn't give me any like organizational powers. That's like not how it works.
Right.
It would be kind of nice maybe if it did, but that's not actually how it works. Right.
Right. I know the uterus like wants to be organized by the moon. It doesn't like dates and emails. If anything, it's like it doesn't like organization
at all. I'm going to run on my own time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was just like this really basic, like when I say that he parents our kids, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. That like invisible in quotes, because it's only invisible if you're not looking for it. Yeah, but like all of that invisible labor is split pretty evenly by who's good at what. He is way better at like logistics and organization and all of that stuff than I am, and so I just don't do it.
Smart. That's good for you. That's it. See, you have like your Viva la Revolucion.
Literally. And it also, it started with like my dad raised 4 daughters to never marry or even date anyone remotely like him.
Oh, that's funny. He's like, I'm not going to change myself, but don't marry me.
No, look, he's 92. He's very much not going to change himself.
Oh my God, same as my dad. We both have older dads.
So the most annoying person on the planet, and I love him so much. Oh my God. He really is. I was just home, but I realized while I was there that like him and my daughter are basically the same person. And I said to him, I don't know how you can get reincarnated before you have died, but you pulled it off, dude. Yeah. But he was also, the whole time I was there, he was utterly shocked that I was there for that long. That when I did talk to Adam, we talked about like Star Trek, and we talked about, I was gone over Easter, and he was like, I think I'm going to put some jelly beans in the bottom of the thing. I'm like, they don't like jelly beans. And he's like, I know. So it's genius. Then we get jelly beans. Like these were the kinds of conversations that we were having.
Right.
And my dad was like, but don't you have to tell him how to do stuff? I'm like, why would I? What? Huh? I was honestly confused by his confusion.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, that speaks to, his level of like how things were run in your house. Yeah.
Yeah. And my parents both worked. My parents both loved their jobs and their careers. My parents both loved me. My dad was an educator, for crap's sakes. Like it's not like he didn't know how to talk to kids or handle kids or whatever,
Right.
And he had been in the military, so he was pretty good about like cleaning stuff, but then it had to be like military clean, which was annoying.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
But when it came to like who was going to manage my life as a child, that was never a question. One of the conversations with Adam that I had in front of my dad was like, he was just, and we were on speakerphone most of the time because dad never puts his hearing aid in anyway. So, whatever.
Same.
We have the same father.
We do.
But Adam was telling me that like his therapist was leaving the practice. And so there were 2 new therapists that we had been offered that both had like time slots. So Adam had sent each of them a couple of questions and he got the questions back and he really liked one over the other. And he was like, this is why I like this one and not the other one. And I was like, cool. Sounds good. And he was like, all right, cool. I just wanted to make sure that you were like in the loop and you knew what was going on. And I think our first appointment is going to be before you get back. So just definitely wanted to like make sure, I didn't want to take him to someone that you had no clue what was going on. I'm like, cool, thanks. And my dad was sitting there with his jaw just hanging open.
I bet. See, he isn't too old to learn something.
Oh, he just would never. He would never.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I don't know how you found him. Like, dude, I found him by not dating the guys that you told me not to date. I found him by doing all the things that you taught me to do. This is what you end up with, or you just don't get married. And a couple of my sisters just didn't get married. They were just like, nah, screw it. And they still had kids. They were just like, I'm not, but I'd rather do this on my own.
Right. I like this part, but not this part.
Look.
That's funny.
Dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Graeme, where can people find you online, since I know you don't do social media very much, boo, and also yay. I know you're on there, but you're not on all the things.
I am. I'm doing more Instagram stuff. I'm trying really hard.
So what are you, for people to know, what are you on Instagram?
Just my name. It's Graeme Seabrook. I made it super easy everywhere. Like I'm on Twitter as Graeme Seabrook, but that's mostly Star Trek Discovery stuff.
Okay.
Gotta be honest.
And it's GrameSeabrook, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And that is all of my social handles. That is the website. It's just graemeseabrook.com.
So what kinds of offerings do you have for weary moms? I feel like there was something that you were just about to launch. Is that right?
Yes. Motherhood Liberation is happening actually you can get on the wait list like now.
Okay.
But we are launching in July. And it is probably my favorite thing that I've ever done.
Ooh, what is it? So how long is the course?
It's a 10-week course, but 2 of those weeks are break weeks because I've taken a ton of courses and taught a ton of courses, and you always get tired or life happens, so you need time. So there's 8 actual weeks of us working together. But then there's also, along with the course, a 1-year membership to my group, the Mom Center. So you get the app and the website, and you get a year's worth of support afterwards, because this isn't the kind of thing that you can just fix with a snap of your fingers. So what we're doing is kind of diving into how patriarchy and capitalism have both shaped the way we view modern motherhood and the way we view the ideals of modern motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Then how the same thing with how we view fathers and fatherhood and what we expect from them. Then into how we view relationships and what we expect from them. And then once we have it all clear, like this is where it came from, then we're making decisions about, okay, what is working for you and what isn't working for you?
Ah, perfect.
And how do you want to change that? What kind of conversations do you need to have, or boundaries do you need to set? Or, do you need a therapist? Do you need a couples counselor? Do you need to walk away? I don't know, and I think I even say, like, on the information page for the course, like, I have no clue what is going to happen in your life after you take this course. I do not know. what I do know for damn sure is that you are going to be much more rooted in who you are as a person, what you actually believe as a person. And you are going to be really clear about what your needs are and what your boundaries are, what you will and will not accept, what you choose to do with that knowledge afterwards, and how that knowledge is received by those around you. That I do not know, but you'll have a whole year of support with me afterwards, and I can hold your hand through the whole thing.
Oh, that's lovely. Oh, yeah. And it seems like it's a great way for people to see what their unconscious beliefs and conditioning is so that they can decide if they want to consent or not to those things.
Well, so that's the thing. Like we also have there's one week where it's called family values, a little tongue in cheek, because we're talking about like, what have you learned from your family, your great grandparents, your grandparents, the family stories, who has been ostracized in your family and for what? Right? Is there like the aunt that never got married that nobody talks about? Is there like, what are the rules, right? For your family and for your partner's family?
Yeah. What are the rules of your family?
Like, what are the rules that you grew up with? Because whether you consciously choose those or not, they have a lot to do with how you're parenting. You're either constantly fighting against them or they're influencing you in ways that you don't even know. And those aren't usually conversations that we have with our partners before we have kids.
Right.
Right? Like,
yeah,
those
it's
aren't
so true.
like, you don't talk about like, why does nobody mention Uncle Bob? Like, you don't have that conversation before you get, you might not find that out for 10 years. So,
I refer to it as like the suitcase of agreements. And it's like as if, when you're growing up, you have people keep adding in your suitcase their agreements about things. And when you're a kid, you just sort of accept them because you're like, you're just excited that you have these things and you don't know any better.
Yeah.
And then there's at some point, and it sounds like your course is a great time to do this, is hopefully we open that suitcase and we go, okay, actually, this was my grandma's agreement. This is not mine. So this does not stay in my suitcase.
It has nothing to do with my life, the way that I'm living it right now. And I for damn sure don't want that to be something that I pass on to my kids.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's all kinds of things that we can swallow for ourselves.
Yeah,
but when
totally.
you think about if your children decide to have children, and mine better because being a grandparent looks awesome.
Oh, yeah. Like all the fun
really
with zero responsibility.
Look.
Yeah. I think,
I don't care if they adopt, if they give birth. Like, I do not care, but I better get some babies. So,
right.
I really am like, come on. But when I think about like what I want their experience of parenting to be for both of them, I actually like, I don't want them to have to deal with all the mental illness stuff that I've dealt with, but I think like what Adam and I have, I'm really happy about that. I'm like, oh, I'm glad that this is what they're seeing.
Yeah, same.
I like this. I would be totally comfortable for either of them to be in a relationship like ours.
Yeah.
But I know that I'm in the minority there. And I also know that I don't have to be because like we did this consciously. We do this consciously every single day. Like we make decisions about our relationship every single day. So other people can as well.
Right. So it's not, I mean, a little bit of it, I don't want to say it's luck, but a little bit of it is like the choice and partner. But the other part of it is course correcting and, trying to stick up for what you need in those little mini revolutions. And then if you find out at some point you have somebody who will not, who's non-workable with those, then that's another conversation. But you can't know until you try all these things.
Yeah. You really can't. You can't know until you try. And this is the third time. This will be fourth. This will be the fourth time running the course. And, there have been folks who've come through it with their marriages totally changed and strengthened. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. There are folks who have come through it and a year later they're divorced. Like, I don't know. I can't know that.
Yeah, right.
And that's why I added the year's worth of support inside the Mom Center, because I was like, this is big, deep work. And it's really important, really necessary. And also I can't go around saying that none of us can do this on our own and then work with you for 10 weeks and then leave you on your own.
Oh, yeah. No.
That doesn't make any sense.
No, that's perfect. Yeah. To have somewhere safe to land afterwards.
Yeah. We're going to hold hands.
That's brilliant. Aw.
Yeah.
That sounds lovely. Well, Graeme, thank you so much for coming back on the podcast. And you always make me laugh and you always make me think. And I value your realness and your insights so, so much. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you for having me. I think I said in one of my emails, I'm like, I just want to talk to you. I miss you.
I know, same.
Let's just hang out. So yeah. Also, pink starburst. So
yes. I just wanted to make a quick mention about latchkey kids and the privilege it is to raise your kids with having you there when they come home from school. Even though today the tendency toward raising kids to be latchkey kids is less since we overthink things and also appropriately think about them too, there are, of course, families whose children have to come home to an empty house. If we had universal childcare, perhaps this wouldn't be a thing, but I just want to make sure that parents whose survival relies on their kids coming home and tending to themselves don't feel shamed or less than. As a former latchkey kid myself, there were a lot of life skills that having to figure out things on my own gave me. And also lots of delicious freezer food, like the French fries in the crisping box. Mwah, chef's kiss. A quick plug for my book, which as an indie author, I gotta do. If you're enjoying this podcast, you will likely enjoy my book, Adult Conversation, a Novel. It's a darkly comedic story about a frazzled modern mother and her therapist who go on a Thelma and Louise-style road trip to Vegas, looking for pieces of themselves that motherhood and marriage swallowed up, while they are also tested and tempted to make life-altering choices. Yes, there are strippers, there's weed, it's Vegas. One Amazon reviewer said, absolutely phenomenal. One of those books that you ignore everything going on in life to finish it. It leaves you wanting more. Never has there been a book that has such a clear portrayal of the real struggles of being a mom. We all lose a part of ourselves, sometimes a huge chunk, once that little baby is put in your arms. But we cannot lose all of ourselves. And this reviewer was not even friend or family that I know of. As always, thanks for listening.
Here I